Hello again, and it's time for another project. Today, just a little router work on this You'll Never Walk Alone plaque. You'll Never Walk Alone, for us, is connected with Liverpool Football Club. And when it's all routed out, we'll do the red and white colours paintwork inside. And then in between the wood itself, I found a little bit of chain, just rough and ready. And I think we can cut about 3 links off each one, and we'll put in between each section, like so. Connect them all with these little horseshoe naily thingies. And then that way, it'll all be nice and loose fitting, but it'll be nice firm once it's up against the wall. And we'll leave a little bit of chain left over, just to make a nice little hanging piece at the top. Now the wood itself is just cheap, nasty fencing wood. I went round to a brother-in-law's and they had half a dozen waiting for me. Let's get to the stage now where friends and neighbours tend to just turn up with random bits of wood. And I don't like to say no, so it was rough at the time, as you can see from that. But once you sand it down, take 3 or 4 minutes with a belt sander, it'll just come up really nice, as you can more or less see from there. So we've cleared them all out, rubbed it all down, we put a bit of shaping on. These measuring about 11 inches by 4 inches. We've got our template all nicely sorted. Bit of carbon paper underneath, like so. And I'll let you just draw around that with a pen. Takes minutes. For me, this is all part of the process. There is other ways of transferring. You could stick that straight to the wood like so, and try your best to route over the top. I've done it once, it was just a little bit too messy. You can put that in reverse image and put acetone, I believe, over the top and rub the back with a spoon. That will give you the transfer just the same. Just too much effort. It takes minutes to trace it out. Good old carbon paper and trace. Just make sure you have a nice fresh piece of paper. This is proper old, this is just for the video purposes. So we've done all 4, as you can see from that. Now first, it's just going to be a simple case. Excuse me. I was just going to say, you can actually use these templates over and over again. But I tend to just make one-off pieces, so that doesn't matter about that. And we've done our next one as well. And the same with the rest. So there we have it. So there's our little pattern template. All done today on this just rough fencing wood that would basically end up in a scrap dumpster, as you American guys call it. A skip over here, or a bit of landfill. Now for routing out purposes, as always for me, I'm going to use these CNC bits, eBay or Amazon. They come in different degrees, 15, 20s. That's basically the angle on the end. Don't really affect me too much, so I tend to have that angle disappearing by the time I've done. You can just see it there. It's going to focus. Maybe not today. The lighting's just not quite right today. I don't know what it is. Bring that down there maybe. No, not to worry. But anyway, CNC bits, 3.175 shaft on them. They will fit a Dremel, no problem, if you use a Dremel attachment. For me, a little reducer collet. Excuse me, I've got a cough. Right, I do apologise. And you simply just pop your CNC bit into there. 6.35mm that adapter collet. That now has a 1/4 inch shank on it, or 6.35. That will fit your router now, no problem. If your router takes 1/2 inch, you're also going to need a bigger adapter. And we'll set that to about 3mm. I do have a bit of wood over here somewhere. I just made a little gauge like that. So we'll pop that in the router. We'll set it to 3mm. That's plenty deep enough. And I know it's 3mm because it's more or less the same thickness there as that piece of as that CNC bit. And we'll do all the lines. I'll do it on one piece, and the other 3 I will do off camera because it's going to be the same process all over. And we just route out, moving all the middle of the letters up to the lines. We'll go around with the CNC bit, should I say. Not too big a project, this one. Once we've done all that, we'll come in with these end milling bits. Here's another one of my favourites. We got a nice size one because there's nothing too fantastic. And that also fits the same adapter. We just slot that into there. I managed to get these with these little coloured barriers on. I think they come without the barriers now, but they are all the same piece. we'll set it to the same depth, 3mm, and literally remove all these letters. And then we'll pop on a bit of red and white paint, a bit of boiled linseed maybe, and then we'll, like I say, if I can find it, we'll attach our chains in between each one. We'll see as it progresses, but for now we'll pop in the CNC bit, we'll set it to roughly 3mm and start routing one of these out. Right, so we've got our first section ready to do. We've got the CNC bit in the router, you can see there, and you can just about make out the adapter in there as well. We set it to 3mm. Remember, that's just enough for that to slide over there like so. So I know that's fine. Now, if you're new to routing, you would be better off leaving all your wood connected, if that makes sense. Because originally this was a long section, with all 4 of these would fit on one. Because I've had to cut them out to get rid of all the bad sections, I've already pre-cut mine to size. But if you're just new, try and keep it all together as long as you can. It just gives you more room to work on. For these smaller sections, it's not like you can really clamp it down, there's just not the space for it by the time you've got your router on there. So another idea is to keep a piece of wood of the same size, and when you come to do the letters at the end here, if that wasn't there, you might just find yourself just rocking a little bit like so. So to keep a nice flat surface, just get a piece of wood the same, so when you come over to do that section there, you can run on that piece of wood at the same time. Me personally, I'll just get away with it because I use the palm of my hands to actually press that, keep that wood in place as I'm routing it. So it shouldn't go too far. But for a newbie, always try and keep your wood as big as you can and do all your cutting out afterwards. Just makes it a little bit easier and a bit more firmer to work with. Okay, what we'll do with this first one then, we'll do all the CNC bits first, and then we'll come back with the end milling bits and we'll clear it all out nicely, and then I'll do these other 3 sections off camera. Let's start routing this one out first. Right, so we've gone round with our CNC bit. Remember, just get that in there, can we? Maybe not today, not to worry. So we've gone round with our CNC bit. Remember, just up to the lines on the inside, that's come out fine. And obviously, off camera, we've done all the rest as well. So now it's got a simple case, just clearing these out. And for that, little end milling bits, I've used these on 90% of my projects, eBay or Amazon again. These are ideal just for clearing out. You notice on the letter O there, we've took a little section out. We can use that as a depth gauge, or a little section we've took out there when we come to clear out all these letterings. Or so you can use your piece of wood, or you can purchase depth gauges off eBay, the same thing. So simply just remove the CNC bit. You'll get a lot more projects out of that one for sure. I'm just going to pop in this one for now. Nice enough size. If it's too small, we can go up to a bigger size. But this just allows us to get into these corner sections pretty easy without too much trouble. Okay, we'll pop that one back in the router and start clearing this one out. Okay, so we've gone all the way round with those end milling bits. We've had no issues, everything pops out really easy. And obviously we've done the other ones at the same time. So there's our 4 little pieces, all nicely done. Now the next stage for me, you'll find with your projects, you'll get into a little set routine of doing things. Once I've done my routing out, most of you will know that I will generally come in with a flexi cable. This is just attached to the end of your Dremel, and a little flat-headed engraving bit on there. There we go. And that's ideal, just to get in and giving a little general tidy up. Just eBay again. You'll get a packet of 30 like this for next to nothing, and they do work and serve their purpose, should I say. So we'll clean them out with that first. For that, little mouse sander with a new bit of paper on, and we're just doing that just to get rid of those pencil lines. I said previously, you can more or less just make out the pencil lines. Remember, we've routed up to the line, so we're going to clear all the pencil lines off, and then because we've got a nice bit of sandpaper, we'll just go in there and give it all a general tidy up. We'll do all that next, and then when we come back, we'll be ready for painting. Right, that's enough sanding down and tidying up for me. So we used a mouse sander, went inside those little sections there with a Dremel with a little engraving bit on, and good old bit of sandpaper. And then I went a bit crazy at the ends here and just used a drum sander on the end of the old flexi cable there, and just gave it a bit of shaping. And obviously we did that on all of them. It was just an afterthought. I got a bit carried away myself, but they're all nicely done now. So the next stage for us is simply just going to paint these. Now normally with your wood, some woods anyway, you want to seal those side walls, because where we've routed that out, you imagine all those grains being like straws. We've gone and cut into those straws now, so we've opened up those pores, let's call them. And when you put your paint in, some paints can bleed into the side wall, and no matter how much you sand it down, you're always going to have that bleeding. So you can put wood sealers on there. I tend to spray a bit of varnish just to seal it all off. On this one, I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to go for chance my luck and just basically just put the paint straight in. Little painter's touch paint, red and white for Liverpool colours. So we'll have a red, a white, a red and a white. We'll just throw that in nicely. Don't be too fantastic. Just quickly get it inside. We're going to sand it all down again nice, and hopefully it should be nice and crispy. If you're not too sure about these kinds of woods, I mean, I don't know what this is, to be honest. You're better off sealing it with something, wood sealant, or like I say, a bit of varnish on. But we'll chance our luck. It's only a bit of fun project, nothing too important. And then we'll see if it bleeds or not. Okay, we'll get our red out and we'll start painting these ones in. Right, that's all nicely sanded down. So remember, we painted it all, and then we literally just went over with a little mouse sander. We didn't seal this wood with anything, straight onto bare wood. And I don't know if you can see from there, everything's nice and crispy. We've had no bleeding whatsoever. on any of the pieces. I just about had enough paint to do the white, and I had to go over it all twice, but these painters touch paint. Just get it there, maybe. There we go. So they're fine for outdoors, no problem, and everything's nice and crispy. So no incidents at all. We took a chance and it worked out in our favour. Now at this stage I would normally just come in with boiled linseed oil and just to darken this down and give it a little bit of protection as it's going outside. But I have purchased a light teak wood dye, and I'm determined to use it all before the end of the year, so I am literally just going to take a chance and cover this all with the wood dye. We're going to put a bit on the back there just to see what it looks like. You want a lot, and hopefully it'll just darken it down and make it look a bit more better than what it does now as it is. So I'm happy enough with that. I'm going to take a chance. So just a simple case of doing all these one at a time. It just spreads slightly, so just go careful. You can see how it spreads here. So we'll thin it out a little bit, and then we're quite happy just to come up to the lettering like so, and you'll get away with going around that, no problem. And a little bit in there, and a little bit in there. Okay, we get the general idea from that. I'll continue until we've finished all 4 pieces. Right, that's all our stain nicely on. What I didn't show you on camera was just a little afterthought. I literally got a dark teak dye, dabbed a little bit on a brush, not too much, and just darken slightly in between those little sections that we removed with the little drum sander on that flexi cable, if you remember. So I didn't need a lot, just enough to say we can see that darker section in there like so. Right, that's it. That's enough messing about. All we're going to do now is basically get our chains again, cut them to size, and see what kind of distancing we require in between each set. Okay, for hanging purposes, I've clamped all 4 pieces together like so, and marked off roughly with a line, little square like that. Draw your line across, and that way we'll know we'll get somewhere in line. It's just a simple case of just tapping them in slowly. As we go, you get the general idea, and then we'll move on to the next one. We'll just see our little marker there. We'll just simply just pop the next one in like so. Okay, I'll come back when it's all done and we're going to be popping the chain on. Right, we've got all our little hanging hooks in place. 2 on the bottom one and 4 on the rest. So they're somewhere near. We're not overly concerned if they're not perfectly lined up. Remember, we've grooved out these ends, so obviously we're going for a rustic kind of look. So that's my excuse anyway, if they're not too perfect. Now, originally I wanted to use 3 links on each section, like so, in between. But obviously with the distance of those hooks as well, it was just too much of a gap in between for me. So lucky enough, it's just going to be 1 link per connection, should we say. And we're lucky with these little links. They've not been welded or soldered together. So you can simply just come in with your little pliers here. And we're going to separate these away like so. That's left a nice little gap there. And hopefully we can just connect these all together. It'll be a little bit fiddly maybe just to get it going. And then we'll see what it's like. Let's pop this first one on anyway while we're here, just to see what it looks like. So hook that in there. hook that in there. Basically just put the link back into place like so. We've got one ready for the other side. I'm trying to do this quickly without boring you guys too much, but you'll get the general idea. Once this one goes in, screw the arms, like so. And then we just clamp the link back together again, like that. And hopefully that's the idea that we're going for. So I'll continue with this, and when we come back, we should all be in one piece, hopefully. Okay, so we've got all the links finally put in place. It was a little bit fiddly, but I do think one link is plenty. And you can see from that, we've got more or less the same distance in between each piece. And then we've got a nice chain at the top there with a circular link. There's a slightly different link in the middle there. That obviously will be the main one for hanging purposes. This will go up against a fence or a wall. It obviously won't be flapping around like that, but that's all done now. So the last stage for me is simply just to put on some spray. Just give it a nice shine. We'll start off in here and I'll go outside. Just 151 clear lacquer today. You will find how dark this wood goes and have a nicer finish on it. They do say be a little bit careful with your white paints. A lot of spray varnish on there, that could yellow in time, but we're not overly bothered. I wouldn't normally spray indoors. It's actually raining today, so we'll make a start just to see how dark that wood goes. You can see from that. And then I'll go outside. We'll do the back as well. And then we'll get a little bit down those side sections. And when we come back, and this is nicely dry, this little project will be finished. Right, that's it. This little project is finished. So it measures in total from corner to corner of 18 inches, and each one of these are roughly 11 inches across by 4 inches. And then we just used a bit of chain that we had lying around in the shed, believe it or not, for 3 or 4 years now. And then we just connect it all with that. We've done a bit of sanding on the edges there with a sanding drum on the end of a flexi cable. And for the rest of it, as always for me, little CNC bits there to do all your lines with, remember. For clear out, little end milling bits. Once that was all done, we sanded it all down, popped in a bit of painter touch paint, just the red and the white there, just for the colours. Once that was all nicely dry, we sanded it all down with our little mouse sander. Then we popped on some wood dye, light teak, just to make the wood look a little bit better than rough old fencing wood. And then just to give it a little bit of a shine, we sprayed on some 151 varnish just to finish it off. And that's it. Just a nice project. For anybody that's a Liverpool fan, this is going to be ideal for those. If not, it's just a nice little piece that you could have hanging up in the garden somewhere. And that's it. This little project is finished. Thank you very much for watching.